Welcome to Crit Hit Interviews. I'm Arlyeon,
And I'm Lovi.
and we're here today with George Kobayakov. Did I say that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Ha! Of the
Kobayakov.
Kobayakov. Of
Yeah.
the Shapufa. Did we also
Yeah.
get that one right?
The Spufa. I'm gonna teach you how to pronounce there maybe a bit later.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So, for those not in the know, he's the developer of the upcoming title Overloop, a cloning-centric puzzle platformer that was once known as Infinity Inc.
So, to get things started, we'd like to know a bit more about you. Can you tell us about some of your favorite games?
So, my favorite games. Yeah. I might say that I'm a little conservative about this, maybe. And my favorite games are games from time when I was a teenager and could just play games all day. I really miss that time. So, I remember back in 2003, I absolutely loved first Mafia, The City of Lost Heaven. This game just drive me mad. Dialogues, ambience, story, characters. I mean, I loved everything about this game, and I probably finished it like maybe 10 or more than 10 times, and I love everything about that game except that race mission. If you remember that, there was an impossible race mission that you couldn't finish without cheats in any way.
I didn't
Yeah.
actually play that one, but I've had enough games where it's like, oh, you're just stuck failing at something that's not very well balanced.
Yeah, and if you decided to finish that race by yourself, you should spend like 2 or 3 days mastering your skills because it was so fucking hard. I could never beat it without cheats, really. So yeah,
Good stuff.
well, yes, hard times, all times. And in general, I'm a super huge fan of games done by Valve. Both Left 4 Dead's, both Portals, entire Half-Life series, even
Yeah,
Team Fortress 2.
Half-Life. That was my
Yeah.
childhood. The
Yeah,
first one?
I mean, first and second and all episodes and a Lost Coast, everything, just everything.
I always have a very special spot in my heart for the first one just because of how big the modding community was for it.
Yeah.
And stuff like They Hunger and Sven Co-op. There was just a lot of really solid stuff for like the first one. There's a lot of good stuff for the second one too, but it's just really neat to me how the modding community really blew up with the first one and how there were so many things built around it.
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, I never felt something like this before because when I launched the first Half-Life, I don't know, it was the entire universe for me, and so you could do so many crazy stuff in there. I don't know, that was really cool.
The fact that you could actually break a lot of sequences in Half-Life and the game would compensate for it was actually really neat.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of NPCs that are technically scripted to die, but you can interfere with it. And if you did, you can actually use them to like open up some side stuff or like get heals from the scientists, etc. So it was really neat.
Right. Yeah, so they made it in back in 1998, right? I mean, yeah.
Oh God,
wow.
that's
20 years ago. Are we that old? I can't believe that.
Wow, I didn't realize that because I played it like when it was new, and then I'm like, oh my God, I was like,
yeah.
wow.
Man. Yeah, I just opened your eyes on the reality. And yeah, speaking about indie titles, maybe my absolute favorite is Playdead's Limbo. I don't know why.
Yes.
Really don't know why.
I really like Limbo, but if I was gonna go for a favorite indie title, it is probably a toss-up between Sultan Sanctuary, Valdis Story, because I just have so many good memories about Valdis Story.
Yeah.
And Mark of the Ninja.
Limbo was probably one of the first indie titles I'd actually ever played, and I did not know it was indie at the time.
Oh, also Rogue Legacy. Rogue Legacy was fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, same for me. I didn't know that Limbo's indie that back that time because yeah, I know there was
Everyone
not
was
some.
playing it.
Yeah, like
You didn't realize.
Nah.
I mean, I guess you don't really look at companies that make games or anything, or like, yeah, I'm like, does a little background check into games because I'm curious and because it's.
Yeah, for me, it's if I'm like really, really into the game, I'll be like, oh,
But
gotta
you know,
know.
I'm also checking for in case things are broken because I've had like a couple instances of buying super broken game and then being sad.
Oh.
yeah.
Um, so to get a bit more on track, you said you were going to sort of teach me how to properly say the shpufa, the shapufa. Uh, so how do you say that, and what does it mean?
Yeah, so basically it's a Russian word and it's not even a real word. So we invented it with a friend of mine some time ago, and I said it's in Russian shpufa.
Shpufa.
Try to repeat that. Yeah,
Spoofa. Oh my god, it
shpufa.
sounds so
Kobayakov.
like I don't know, I just really
Shpufa.
like the way it sounds.
Shpufa.
yeah,
Actually, yeah, it's sort of
you're
like
making
spoof.
great.
So shpufa.
Yeah.
Shpufa, yeah, very smooth.
Shpufa.
Wow, that
But
was perfect, man.
so what does that mean?
Well, I'm not sure I even can explain it in Russian, so not trying to mention it in English. Um, it's probably something esoteric for me. So like the shpufa, it's something that everything and everywhere and everyone could be shpufa or anything could be shpufa. It's some kind of, I don't know, universe knowledge, and I just advise you not to try and understand that or you will go crazy as I did one time. So it's just shpufa, that's it.
It's just a thing.
That's really hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So it's just a thing that is like an
It's just a
insider.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
like it's like Zen or a Nirvana or I don't know, something like that.
So how's the indie scene in Turkey and Ukraine?
Well, in this scene, I can't say much about Turkey because I didn't succeed to enter Turkey in the scene yet. We moved in Turkey 3 years ago, but generally speaking, it's hard to make games in Turkey because we live in Antalya. It's a resort city. I mean, sea, palms, sun, weather, mountains, fresh air, all that stuff. Yeah, in truth, I still sit all day in my room making Overloop, so that doesn't affect me much. Yeah. Um, so I could just sit in any place, and that will be, exact for me.
Sunshine and
So
palms, still super pasty because sitting in room all day programming.
Yeah, that's right. So I just look at the window and I just could see it, but no interaction, at all.
I mean,
And
my experience from living in a
yeah,
rather hot country was stay inside all the time, and if not inside, go straight to car and then straight to other building because air conditioning.
yeah, that's right. I mean, we use conditioners in summer for 3 months, like from June to August. You can just go on the street in the middle of the day because you'll burn
Yeah.
like in a minute. So yeah, well, if we speak about indie, Ukrainian indie scene, there is an indie community, but maybe it's very local. And also, since Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus, and some other countries, they all speak Russian, and very often there is a situation when indie teams contain people from different countries, and they work as a one team, and you could say whether it's 100 Ukrainian or Russian or Belarusian team. So it's kind of like they're connected into one single Russian-speaking community, probably. I could notice one guys from their Ukrainian and Russian team, two guys, one from Ukraine, one from Russian they called Hidden Layer Games. And maybe you saw them on Twitter. They're making like Metroidvania pixel art platformer called Inmost. It's like two-colored, not black and white, but more like blue and white colored game. Very cool. I really enjoyed, and I think this will be something. This could be something big and huge for a Russian-speaking indie community, because we don't have many hits that I could just say that, oh, you know that game, that was a Ukrainian team or Russian team. I couldn't say that because we don't have that much hits, indie hits. Yeah, something like that. we exist, but we are very local.
Yeah.
Okay. So, going back a bit towards some of your earlier projects, how does Overloop differ from like your previous projects, and what did you learn from them? Since you had like a fair bit of experience in like releasing games for Flash, as I recall.
Yeah, I made probably maybe 10 or even more Flash games back in time. And well, what was cool about Flash is that you could make a game in a month or 2 or 3 or 4 at least, I don't know. So that was a short period of time to make and to release your game. This doesn't work with Steam or with consoles where you have to make more complex, more bigger games, right? And so what differs Overloop from that games is that is so much complex, and it's so much deeper and harder than any games that I ever made on Flash. And first time in my life, in my indie life, yes, this game contains really strong story, dialogues, many small gameplay mechanics, many small and tiny things that build this game around and make something big. Like for me, big, of course, in in comparison with huge AAA titles, or even in comparison with some cool indie hits. This game still could be a little like, but this game is, for me, it is the next step. It's evolution, and it's what differ this game from other projects. Yeah. So, and I'm making this already like 5 times longer. I spent 2 years on this game already. Like when in Flash, I spent 3-4 months on one game.
So it's a lot more of an ambitious title.
Yes.
What was it like to transition to Unity from Flash then?
Well, I must say that at first I didn't want to use Unity at all, and I tried to use Hex plus OpenFL. Hex is a language that is very similar to ActionScript 3 that's used in a Flash. So I just tried to, use that because I know ActionScript 3. So I spent a month or two trying to make a transition to Hex, and eventually I failed. And I tried Unity. I spent maybe a week trying to port original Flash game onto Unity. And I spent a week and I actually did that. So it was so easy, and it was so, I don't know, it was so intuitive to port this game on Unity. So, of course, Unity, I mean, has many weak sides, but at the same time, it has so many advantages. And sometimes Unity can be impossible, but usually it helps a lot to make a game, not building tools, because there are a bunch of ready tools in Unity, right? You can just open Asset Store, download any tool you want. For example, you want something for texts using in your subtitles, right? When dialogues is pops up. So you just download in TextMesh Pro, and that's it. You have very cool smooth texts, fonts, and all that stuff. So you're focusing only on your game, on your story, on your gameplay, game design, and so on. So I could recommend Unity if you still have doubts, have no doubts, use it. Unity is cool, so yeah, I love it.
All right. So you mentioned this a bit prior to me like officially started talking, but I'd like to sort of have you talk a bit about your experiences with crowdfunding and what you learned from that process.
Oh, well, yeah, that was a tough time for me. I mean, it was a over a year ago. I I, I just thought, well, maybe I should start a crowdfund campaign. Look, that was like a easy thought, but eventually it came up like a very hard time for me, and because it's like making a game. It will take all your time. It will take all your power, and you couldn't just make game during that period when you're running a campaign. So you have to know that if you're running a campaign, you have just to stop making your game for 2 or 3 months, or maybe even more if you're running a stretch goals or something like that, and you will focus only on that campaign, and you have to be like 100% sure that you can accomplish it, because it makes no sense if you can't accomplish so you won't have no money, and you won't and you will spend 2 or 3 months that you might spend on development, right? So, well, uh, I'm not regretting that I runs into crowdfunded campaign, because uh, I found an investors because of my crowdfunding campaign. So I used to master my skills talking with audience, my skills showing up my game. I mean, my skills making trailers. I made a video. Maybe you saw that about my clones. We were talking like on Indiegogo page. We were talking. There was me and three my clones. We were talking to people, like asking them for money. Yes. So one clone was who's making art, one clone who's making code, clone who's making sounds. So we were like team, and yeah. So I used all that skills uh, in my next approaches. I could say like that. So it could be useful, but it could be very painful, I might say.
Well, you mentioned that the crowdfunding introduced you to some investors. What was it like communicating with both them and publishers?
Well, communication with my investor was pretty uh, good and cool, and it was a pleasure to communicate with them, because uh, those guys in the fund. They are basically a team of indie developers who already succeed in their games in past. So guys like who made for example, World of Goo. You remember that game?
Oh,
Yeah. So
yeah, that rings a
and
bell.
many other cool indie developers that became investors, and they help other indie developers to finish their game, to not focusing on money, on finding money, and so you could just make your game and that's it. You will know that you have money, that you're not starving, your family not starving, so you're just focusing on making really cool games. So those guys helped me a lot, and I'm working with them right now, and communication with them was just fantastic. And here again, my crowd fading campaign helped me a lot, because when I started crowd fading campaign, I released an early alpha version of the game, and this early alpha version played, for example, that Jacksepticeye. He recorded a video, so I could use this video and send this video to my potential publishers or investors. So that might have an effect on final decision. Yes, I spoke with several publishers, but it was maybe a year ago or even more. So they didn't see the last version of the game. I got all rejects. I sent probably 20 or 30 letters, and I got all rejects. And it is an ox situation. It is okay because usually when you send like 100 letters to publishers, I mean 10 or 15 will answer you, and 10 of them 10 of 15 will reject you, and maybe one of 100 will tell you something. So it's okay situation, and I think something like that.
Since you were responsible for the game's promotion and trailer, could you tell us more about that experience, the skills you had coming into it, and those that you developed as time went by?
Oh yeah, so well, because I'm a single developer, right? So I have to make all that stuff, starting with game design, writing dialogues and scripts, and inventing gameplay mechanics. I don't know, drawing arts and visuals. But it's only one part. It's like a 50% of all development process, and you have to make many other stuff, like making video trailers, making promotions, promo arts. Well, that's important for developer. Maybe many developers think that game development is only about games. That's actually not true, because well, does it make sense if you make cool game but no one plays it, right? No one knows about it. So you have to make something to bring people's attention on your game. And trailers, for example, could work just fantastic for it. So if you have a cool trailer, if you have a cool game, and you like combine it with a cool trailer, then you have a much bigger chance that people will see your game. So I made probably maybe 3 or 4 like interactions through making trailers, and I really enjoy. I'm really enjoying this making videos for my game, because I don't know. I'm starting to understand more, maybe like everything this works, and yeah. So trailers are important, guys.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
As I stare sadly at like the YouTube channel that we've still forgotten to put a trailer on.
Yes, you should probably. You definitely should.
We'll get there.
And you like, you should use all effects, visual effects that you could put in there, like explosions, fire, smoke. I don't know. And you should put all that in 5 seconds.
Just 5 seconds of explosions, and then like developer interviews, small nuclear explosion.
Yeah. That's right.
So, other than what you've covered, was there anything else that you'd like to talk about in regards to just the minutia of developing Overloop and sort of running all of this background stuff? Like, a lot of people have talked about development, but you've been also sharing a bit about like the paperwork, the investors and all that. So I was wondering if there's anything else you felt was really pertinent to sort of add here to any developers who might be watching.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I remember having like a really dumb situation when I well, this story might be interesting only for developers. So there was a situation that where I had to register in IRS, American government. That's all that stuff with taxes, right? So to make that, you have to call IRS and say them many stuff about you, starting from your name and your place where you live, your country, your street, your whole address, your passport infos, and so on and so on. So, and all that you're making by phone. So, but as you can hear, I have a really noticeable accent, and more, my name is George in English, but Ukrainian version of this name is Georgi, but it transcripts like Georgi, so it's just almost impossible to write correctly and to
Ah.
pronounce correctly. Yeah.
That sounds
So
like a
when I
good
called
time.
IRS, yes, I tried to pronounce letter by letter my name, and I thought that we succeeded in this because a man on that side, yeah, he also spelled my name letter by letter, and it was fine. And this whole process is taking time, maybe months, for them to register you and to send you a letter. And I'm right now I'm talking about, say, people who live overseas, US, right? Not including US. So it took a month for me to receive a letter from them, and when I received, I noticed that there is my name was has written with a mistake, and
Oh.
yeah, like, and what it means that if you want to work with Steam, Steam connects with IRS that database, and if you have a
Oh,
mistake in your name, yes, they just can't see you. So what do you have?
lovely.
You call IRS again. You tell them that there is a mistake in your data. They fix it. It's taken another month. So basically, I spent 3 months fixing that mistake. I called IRS maybe 10 times. So I was just they already know me. Like, oh, George, that's you. Oh,
Oh,
okay,
hi
that's fine.
again.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, this kind of dumb situation. So for every indie overseas the US, you might know this. You have to know this. That you should make this very precise, and you should pay many attention to all that paperwork, because it could take a lot of your time that you could spend on developing your game. Yeah, something like that.
Moving on, what was your inspiration for Overloop?
We're mostly moving on because, my god, the IRS is just a source of tragedy wherever it is.
Yeah, right. Um, my inspirations for Overloop. Well, speaking about games, definitely it was all Valve games, especially Portals and Half-Life. I
Mm.
mean, you could notice that
Yeah.
if you play Overloop, yeah, more or less. Uh, I have they have inspired me a lot, because what I love about Portals and a Half-Life series is their atmosphere. Uh, Portal's humor I love a lot, like and their variety, or how I said it, their um, help me to find the right word, their diversity, right?
Ah,
Yeah.
So
okay.
yeah, so Portal is very diverse. It's like, now you're playing there, then I don't know, something breaks, you're already there, and things changing like all the time. So I like that a lot. And in Half-Life series, I like that anti-dystopian atmosphere, kind of dystopian atmosphere, right? So where soldiers of aliens, they're all around you, and City 17, for example, it's just
Oh yeah,
kind of,
Half-Life 2 is super dystopian.
yeah, it's, I mean, cool, and I like that a lot. So I try to bring something like this in a Overloop or Infinity Inc. Talking about other games, I should mention the Swapper by Facepalm Games.
I played that. It was lovely.
Yeah, it has little different cloning mechanic than Infinity or Overall, because there when you clone yourself, your clones, they are starting to behave like you. So when you have 5 clones on your screen, they behave the same. When you walk to the left, your clones walk to the left, and when you walk to the right or you jump, they also jump. My clones, they're independent. Like, you may switch between them, but they don't duplicate your moves. And but there was some clever puzzle mechanics that I like, that I really enjoyed. Well, also Limbo and Inside both, because they're platformers both, and
Still need to do Inside. I haven't
yeah,
yet. And I'm
well,
totally blind because I don't watch Let's Plays. So,
I watched a Let's Play.
So I have no idea about it. I played Limbo, so I'm.
It's
Yeah,
very
well,
different.
very right. It's very different, and I enjoyed Limbo. To be honest, more than Inside. I would say that Limbo for me is like 9, and Inside is like 7.5 or 8. It's
good.
still very cool, yes, but it hasn't that effect that Limbo on me.
I liked the way that Limbo handled its like narration, like the whole thing of like a lot. It was all like show don't tell,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
that was very neat.
yeah.
Uh,
Oh, one more. I remember just. Have you watched that movie called Moon by Duncan Jones?
repeat that.
There is a Moon by Duncan Jones movie. There is a Sam Rockwell playing in that movie.
It sort of loosely rings a bell, but no, I can't remember it.
Yeah, well, this cool movie about cloning. It's like uh, the Sam Rockwell's character. He was working on a moon. Well, it's kind of future, sci-fi
Is
future.
it like the
And
mining one?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, then yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, I enjoyed really much a lot. So it was kind of inspiration
Super
too.
solid.
Yeah.
So there's another one, another piece of inspiration that you've mentioned in past, and that was Isaac Asimov's The End of Eternity. I'm not exactly as familiar with that as like source material, so I was wondering if you could maybe say what it was about The End of Eternity that resonated enough to inspire Overloop.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that since that time, the game already changed a lot. I mean, time when it was Infinity Inc. still. So right now, Eternity Inc. doesn't have that much influence as it had previously. But in general, what I tried to achieve is like is the feeling of huge corporation that stands behind everything, behind the whole game story, like it was in End of Eternity.
I was
In
also gonna
Eternity,
think like, what is his name? William Gibson's novels. How there's like those super oppressive corporations behind everything.
yeah. Yeah, we're back to umbrellas and what else?
All the Zaibatsus.
Yeah. So, in Eternity, I will say just in 2 words, there was an organization called, well, Eternity, which existed outside the time because they invented like time traveling. And that's why they called Eternals, because they live outside the time. They're not living in time. So they do time travels for people. They do time travel to different centuries of humanity to help people overcome when some shit is happening. And
So not tourism.
yeah, right.
I mean, I had to be clear. The moment it's like time traveling corporation, I was like, oh dear God, did they make like, did they destroy like the timeline through like tourism? On the left, you see Hitler. Please don't try and assassinate him. It will invariably fail.
Yeah, right. Well, and there, so Eternals could travel only from 2070th century when they invented time traveling to 150 century. After
Oh,
150, humanity doesn't exist anymore, so they couldn't travel there far.
so they can travel from the point where time travel exists and up to the point where it stops existing.
Right, exactly.
That's interesting.
But
So it doesn't let them go like super far back or anything, but it lets them span between that point in time.
yeah,
That's actually
but
super neat.
from 70th century to 150th century, those centuries were called like hidden centuries because the world still exists, but there were no humans. So humans doesn't exist from 70 to 150th century. And what I liked about those centuries that Eternity as a corporation still exists in those centuries, but that's the world of emptiness. There is nothing there. No people, nothing there. So I tried
Like, is it automated then? Like, is the corporation like sort of
yeah,
running itself?
yeah. They were building like cells in time, like offices in time. I don't know how to. I don't remember exact model. Yeah, but those was like cells. And every cell worked independently. So they if I'm right, they were using like sun energy to make things work in time. So something like that. Yeah. So even if people are not there, still corporation works and time traveling for to those century works.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I imagined uh, Overloop or Infinity Ink. So Infinity Ink is basically a like reflection to Eternity Ink, or because they have called Eternity organization or corporation. I don't know. So I tried. I thought, okay, I will use just something like Infinity Ink because you're like cloning yourself infinitely, and it's never ends. And I tried to bring this atmosphere of loneliness. Like imagine that you're the last single person in the world, right? And you have a cloning gun, and you can clone yourself. And even if you will clone yourself like 100 times, still it will be only you, no one else except you, even if there is hundreds of you,
And you
right?
mentioned like they're empty vessels too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause it's not like you even gained a clone, so you can go and have a conversation with yourself and deviate from that point in time. Because it was perfect cloning. They would be identical up until the moment they were cloned, and then they'd start being different. You don't get
Ye-
that though if they're just a physical clone. They're just this doll, this shell.
Yep.
yes, it makes even worse everything. Yeah, that's scary.
What was the
So
hardest part when making?
Oh, wait, you still had something?
yeah,
Continue.
that's okay.
Oh.
I finished, I think.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well then, what was the hardest challenge when making Overloop?
Because I mean, you nailed down Pat the whole like oppressive atmosphere thing there, if that's anything to go by.
Yeah. The hardest part of Overloop.
Although you will never starve to death, just toss like one of your clones into a Soylent Green machine,
Yeah.
start dabbling with the flavors, maybe get some Soylent Brown there going.
Jesus.
Oh my god. Well, hardest challenge, right? Um Hardest challenge was probably to understand what is this game about and what it should be. What I mean, like original Flash Infinity Inc. was maybe 10 or 50 minutes long, so it was a short game, more like prototype, and I knew that if I have to make a new game, a bigger game, yeah, I have to extend story, I have to extend mechanics, I have to extend everything to make this game like 2 or 3 hours at least to complete. And so I couldn't just go around and clone yourself and kill yourself for 3 hours because it will be too bored. So the hardest part was to understand what should happen in this game, what should be interesting in this game, and what should keep player playing this game. Yeah, probably that, because this game evolved so much, so many times. I had so many interactions through everything, through every part. I interacted through art like 3 times. I draw it like from scratch. And then I interacted through dialogues and through the whole story. Then I interacted through endings because I
Wait,
have
did you say
4
endings?
endings. Yeah, I have 4 endings in this game.
A
Multiple. Yeah, and so, well, it depends. They depend on players ask to add an option to complete the game with the original player. Like when you started with one at the beginning of the game, and you're trying to save him, not to kill him. So when you complete the game with this character, you will have another ending, and it depends on other situations also. So
That's
in
interesting,
gen,
though. So the actual original body does matter to a degree.
uh, yeah,
Huh.
yeah. So and what I don't like about many other platform games is their like how to say that, abstractness maybe. So they're abstract, like there is a platform, there is a spike, there is a box, but they don't have any sense. Like it's only an object. What I tried to achieve is to make every object is in this game uh, so it could have a reason, right? It could have an explanation. For example, if I have a laser in a game, so who brought this laser here, who did it, why is this laser here? So I tried to explain all that, see all the things, and actually those small things, they build your entire game story, your entire game narrative. So what I like, when story and when game builds around those small tiny things that explained. So I tried to make all this and overloop, and that was really hard. Yeah, but I think I succeeded, I hope.
So I'm gonna double back to a comment you mentioned before. Like the cloning mechanic rests at Overloop's core, but you'd mentioned that you needed to build on that. So first off, like what drew you to making the cloning mechanic a staple of the gameplay? And since you mentioned you're going to try and provide more depth to it, are there any other particular mechanics that you feel may be worthwhile mentioning?
Hmm. Well, mm, what I like is about this cloning mechanic is that's super fun, super fun. Well, when I play it, I'm having so much fun about this. When I see how people react on this mechanic, and what I like the most is the moment when someone first time starting this game, and he has to commit his first he has to make his first killing of his clone. He doesn't know that he must kill clones in this game yet. And when he sees that laser, he stands. He has two clones, and he's thinking, what am I doing here? Is this game broke or something? I can't pass this. Yeah, but eventually he understands that he must kill himself, so that laser will break, and he will pass this situation. So I like that a lot. So I like when there are places where you must kill your clones, and there are places where you may not kill your clones. Like, yes, so you may complete the game without killing clones. Well, not entire game, but some parts of the game.
So there's parts where you could technically kill clones to do it, but there's entirely like non-clone killing solutions to puzzles.
Yeah, that's really hard if applies to the whole game, because I just couldn't manage that to a whole games. But there is a part where you can, yes, you may not kill in clones, and you may save your clones, something like
Interesting.
that.
I
Yeah.
imagine that's part of the things that factor into the endings then.
Maybe. What there was a mechanic that people asked like very often, is to add the mechanic of cloning everything, because
Oh.
because basically that's what happens in the game. Like, you have a cloning gun that may clone everything. It's in game story, right?
That would get ridiculous, because
Yeah.
isn't there like that helicopter and like, I mean, it's like, oh, there's a helicopter coming at me. I'm gonna clone the helicopter and throw it at it and like hope they both don't decide to kill me, because that would be, it's like, oh, I cloned the helicopter, now you have two helicopters chasing you, and I'd be like, better ideas.
Yeah.
Choices were
Clone
made.
yourself.
Choices were made, full of regret.
Yeah, I think that this mechanic could really drive something to completely mess, some kind of completely mess. But what I tried to make from this mechanic is like more, not cloning everything mechanic, but well, imagine that you have some object in front of you, for example,
Like a
any kind of-
box.
like a box, yeah, for example. So you might like absorb this box, like absorb this structure, his I don't know, atomic structure, yeah, and then you might drop those boxes, like shooting with those boxes. Like,
Okay,
if you
that's
see
great.
enemy, yeah, you just copy that information, and you just might drop those enemies
Wait.
to another enemies.
Could
Yeah,
you
for
like
example.
copy enemies if they're like small enough, and then shoot
Yeah.
enemies into other enemies?
Yeah, that sounds cool, right? I mean, that's crazy, but it sounds cool. So I even made a prototype with this mechanic, and it worked really well. Only one thing, that you still will have a specific amount of objects that you might clone,
So you can't
right?
like flood an area with like boxes.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
that would be an issue.
right. So you're just playing, and you smell kind of smoke, and you're looking, and your processor and your computer started to burn because you cloned like thousands of boxes.
Oh no, or worse, you cloned thousands of like moving, attacking enemies and just shot them
Yeah.
out. Because you're like, this seemed like a really good idea at the time. No.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, so I dropped this mechanic eventually, and yeah, so, like
So-
Other than that, is there anything else that didn't make it into the game that you wanted?
Well, I wanted almost from the beginning of development of this game, I wanted to make a local co-op mode, and
Oh.
I never tried because I was so scared that I couldn't manage it to release, because local co-op brings many problems into the game. And but maybe 2 months ago I started. I just thought that I could try. So and I might try. I did try, and it worked perfect. I mean, you imagine that you are playing like a single character, right? When you making your
A
clone,
clone? They can like
yeah.
control
So
it?
yeah, so the second player controls it. So when
That
second
would
player
be
makes a clone,
amazing.
he
Oh no, what's super amazing is like you could totally troll your friend by like creating them like over a pit full of traps and being like, hey look, you can play for a second as they like fall into buzzsaws.
exactly, and you know, I don't know if you know this. There is a kind of like broken or wasted clone when you don't have a lot of energy in your cloning gun. It will clone you. Like he's swapped. His hands and his legs are swapped. He swapped. Drop down. I don't know. Have you seen them?
Yes, I've seen where they're like sort of standing on like in a weird way because their limbs aren't in the right place.
Right. So when you're out of ammo and you're the only player on the scene, and when you clone yourself, then second player starts to play in this broken clone. So and you might you might make those situations like uh, for intention, right? Like you might not take in ammos, so your second player will always be like that broken clone.
So trolling. So trolling.
Yeah, trolling. Yeah, I
Okay.
enjoy.
The best
That's
thing to
good.
do.
Lovi trolls me a lot in games, so this seems right up her alley.
Yeah. So yeah, local co-op. I hope that I will manage it to release. Now it's working good. There are some situations where with puzzles, yeah, so I have to rebuild them in some other way, but I hope
That's still pretty
eventually.
awesome just to hear that like it was a thing that wasn't gonna be in and is now gonna be in, maybe.
Yes.
It'll be good.
I mean, the like, is it that you have like a single player mode and a co-op mode? It's like the co-op campaign stays intact, but then you have like just a slightly alternative tweaked one for the co-op mode, or is it just meant to be that like a second player could technically drop in for the single player campaign?
uh, there will be one single campaign, but there will be two modes, like single player mode and local co-op. There's still in one world, but I'm not sure that there could be some
I just figured I'd
differences.
ask. Yeah, because you mentioned like some of the puzzles are specifically meant for like a single player, I imagine, where having two players would probably make it a little easier.
Yeah, so I don't think that if you're playing a single mode campaign and second player just press start, yeah, so he could start from that point. I don't
Okay.
think so. So you should start
So they will
a
be
local co-op.
separate things. Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I was asking.
yes.
When will Overloop release?
A tentative date if there is one.
Oh God. Well,
Before Half-Life
that's
3?
oh yeah. I mean, yeah. This question is so hard for me because, well, I'm making this game for 2 years, and when I started this game, I didn't know much about making so big games, right? So I hope that I will finish this game at first for 6 months. Then I thought, oh, okay, I will spend a year on it. Then I thought, okay, I will spend 2 years on it. Right now, I'm seeing that 2 years passed, and I really don't know. So I hope this year I will release this game. Not don't know about any specific date yet, but
But
right now I already
hopefully
have.
this year.
Yeah, hopefully this year.
Huh. So, this is like a little bit of, I guess, another minutia question, but Overloop was originally known as Infinity Inc. We've sort of talked about that. How did this change in name come to be, and what was the reason for Overloop as a title specifically?
Hmm. Yes, Infinity Inc. Well, there is Infinity Inc. is everywhere on it or on internet, right? Because Flash game distribution works very viral. So every game portal could take this game and put it on their portal, right? So if you type Infinity Inc. in your browser, you will see there is a lot of Infinity Inc. old version, Flash version. So I was worrying that this might this might be a confusion between two versions, between Steam PC version and original Infinity Inc. version. And the second reason is why I changed the name, because there is a comic book by DC called Infinity Inc. They launched it back in maybe 18s or 82 or 83. I mean 1982.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't read it, but I think I've seen a couple covers.
Yeah, so it's called Infinity Inc. And I thought that maybe one day they will decide to make a game about this comic book. They will go on Steam, and what they see, they're another Infinity Inc., right? But because they're DC and I'm no name indie game developer, so I thought that I couldn't just overcome any problems with DC, and I wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so I decided to change this name, and I tried maybe 100 different names. First, I tried to extend this name, like for example, Infinity Inc. Aftermath, or Age of Infinity, or Eternity Corporate. By the way, DC also has Eternity Inc. comic book.
Go figure.
So yeah, that didn't work, and well, eventually I came up with Overloop. And how did I come up with this? Well, I saw Hyperloop by Elon Musk, right? So, and that's really cool name. I really enjoyed Hyperloop. Too
Okay.
bad I can't use this name.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's sort of a good thing because when you say Hyperloop, I think Hypercube, and as much as Cube is a delightful Canadian set of sort of hokey like sci-fi movies,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
set of hokey sci-fi Canadian movies.
Yeah, no, it was pretty interesting back in time. Also, I
I
was a
preferred the
teenager.
first Cube to Hypercube,
Yes,
also, just saying.
yes. Well, it was fresh that time, so yeah. So Hyperloop, Overloop. I mean,
Fair
I can't
enough.
say yeah what is Overloop right now, because it has like in-game sense, right? So it
It makes
has
sense in the greater scheme of things, but it's not like you're really gonna find out until later.
yeah, right.
Okay. Um, so I guess the sort of final question to wrap this off on, unless you have anything you're going to be adding after this, is do you have any plans for after the full release? Just either content you want to add to Overloop or the like, or any ideas for future games?
Hmm. Future release. Well, I don't have about I don't have plans actually about any my future games yet, because like I'm focused only on this game, and all my personality focused on this game, and I can't think about anything about this game except this game, right? So my plans after Overloop release is just to relax and have parties like a whole month without no stopping. I will go. I don't know. I will. I will be going on the beach I will be parties in the clubs at night. I will be playing games all night. I will be doing all that stuff that I missed during this whole development process of Overloop.
Sounds good.
Probably yes.
The much needed R&R process. That sounds honestly pretty healthy. I know some people are workaholics. It's good that you're like, I need a break. It has been years.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so and no ideas for future games really. I well when I used to make Flash games, what I like about them that you could make games in different genre. So you could spend the months making a platformer, and so you can spend next month making I don't know a JRPG game. So maybe I will try myself in something different, in any very different kind of games, very different genre. I think so, but no ideas, no specific ideas yet.
Alrighty then. You can wishlist Overloop on Steam. You can also follow at the Spoofa. We'll also have that written in the description on Twitter to keep up with all of his latest news if you're not a dedicated Steam lurker. Lastly, we do have a link in the description which leads to Overloop's Discord server. Is there anywhere else you'd like to actually direct people, or any final words you may have for the audience?
Oh well, I should probably direct people to on a crit hit because I think that your interviews, guys, are getting less attention that they should be getting, and so
You can't see it,
probably
but we're making
We're
a heart
both
at
making
you.
heart symbols.
yes. So my word for audience, if you're listening this, you should probably check some of previous interviews on a crit hit. There are some cool interviews. I listened them.
Oh, sweet.
So yes,
There'll
and
also be a link
I
in the
don't know.
Discord.
Look, if you're looking for Overloop, just find links below in the description, and that's it. Probably something like that.
Alrighty.
Take care, and make cool games and play cool games. Thank you guys for having me here. Yeah, it was great. It was just great. It was my first big interview, and I really enjoyed it.
We're really honored to have you.
We are also extremely flattered that you consider this a big interview. I also totally appreciate just the amount of time that you offered us. It was super neat for you to like take that time out of your schedule to pop by.
Yeah, thank
guys, you're recording this. People you might know, but guys, recording this interview. Like, what is time for you right now? It's like 2 or 3.
It's 3 a.m.
Yeah, guys. I mean, you're crazy. You're epic. You're doing really great.
We are dedicated to the cause and also to coffee.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Okay.
Do leave a like and a comment below, and subscribe if you like our content and see even more lovely interviews of developers like this.
Lovely, lovely people.
And to get updates, do click the bell icon, and we're also very active in our Discord server, which will be linked in the description below.
Oh, and sharing is caring. See you folks next time.